everybody. Great to be back with you at last. It's Paul here, of course, from Keysound TV. And, well, here we are. We're in the new showroom. We never thought it'd happen. And I'm sure you'll agree that it's been a major upheaval for us. After 45 years in one location, believe me, there was an awful lot to sort through and move here. But without a shadow of a doubt, it's the best thing we've ever done. We've got a great new showroom. In a second, I'm going to take you on like a whirlwind tour around the shop. But I know a lot of you have been down and seen us. But for those of you that can't, we'll show you all the shop. And we'll show you a little bit of how it was put together. We're super, super excited. We've now got lots more space, lots more products on offer. But it is great to be back with you again and restarting the schedule of the Keysound TV. Because of all the changes, here's what we're thinking, and I hope the majority of you will agree with how we plan to do this. To put together an hour's show means often we have to film a month in advance because of the editing time and getting everything together. And sometimes, you know, we miss out on telling you the latest news until the following month. So here's what we're thinking. We're going to put this out. You'll get the same amount of content. You will still be the privileged people because you've signed up who will get to see this show. It's not going to be available to anybody else. But what we thought was we might put it out, maybe we'll have a 20-minute segment, and then another week we'll put out another 20 minutes, another week another 20 minutes, because things happen in our industry and it's nice to be on the ball and announce things and show you things as we go along. We're still going to have all the regular contributors and some new ones as well. But, you know, rest assured, whether we do it in 2 half-hour sections, it just makes life a bit easier for us, and I really hope you understand that. And hopefully it'll make it more enjoyable for you because we can be bang up to date with all the latest news. As I say, Andy Carvill will still be with us, Mike Hall, the regulars. We're going to have Paul Thurkettle along from Yamaha in a future edition. And having seen what he did here on our Yamaha Open weekend, you're really in for a treat when you see the way Paul presents some of the products and some of the things he does. I think it's also nice for you to hear different people playing different products because with the best will in the world, I don't want to be playing all the time because you start to hear the same style all the time and the same tunes. So we're going to try and vary that a little bit more. We've also invested in some new software that will allow us to go live. So we will put on some special events then as we go through the year. And you can register for those separately. They will be free, but you can come along, you can actually watch, and you will be able to ask questions during the seminar. So it's all exciting news. And finally, just before we go into this month's edition, I do apologise for the number of months we've had to miss. But as I say, I hope you appreciate what's been involved in this move. We basically had a house move, then the shop move, and things in the shop you can always plan it. It's like with a house move or anything. Oh yeah, it'll only take a couple of weeks. Everything that you thought would take a couple of weeks takes 4 or 5 weeks, and so on and so forth. But we are back, hopefully bigger and better than ever. So enjoy this edition. Well, hello, good morning, and what a beautiful morning it is. I'm going to take you on a little journey down to the shop, and we're going to show you the rough location of the shop and where to get to the car park round the back. Because we haven't been there that long, not all of the signage is up yet. So this will give you a little idea and enable you to get your bearings as to where the shop is. Enjoy the journey. I think on a beautiful day like that, we need these. Okay, so here we are, still early morning at the minute, so obviously the shop's shut, but there is the shop on the left-hand side. As you can see, Regent Street's a nice tree-lined street, just off the main town centre, but this is actually the main A47 as it actually goes through the town. There is parking on both sides of the road, limited to an hour, but we have our own car park. Now, what I'm going to show you is how we get there. So if you find yourself in this position in Regent Street, so the shop is on the left-hand side, here's the little journey we take to get round to the car park. Enjoy the ride. So continue along Regent Street, slower than me, until we get to the traffic lights. And immediately we've gone through there, at the next set of traffic lights, we're going to turn left. Follow the road down, look for the low grey building on the left called Sumac Grill. Immediately at the end of their wall and before the road sign, turn left into the car park. Okay, so this time we've turned up in the opposite direction, so the shop is now on the right hand side. So let's show you the alternate route in this direction of where to find the car park. Seatbelts on, hold tight, here we go. As you pull away from the shop, we'll almost immediately come to a set of traffic lights. At those lights, we're going to go straight through, and then not far up the road, we come to another set of traffic lights. Please keep in the right-hand lane. You should now be at the side of Sainsbury's. As we've turned right here, please keep in the right-hand lane as we approached almost immediately yet another set of traffic lights. Once we're through these lights, look for Sumac Grill on the right hand side and once again turn right into the Keysound car park. Well, you know, it's always a pleasure to invite back the following gentleman, Mr. Andy Carvill. He's going to join us for a couple of sessions on this episode. You know, I worked with Andy a good few weeks ago now at one of the Keyboard Cavalcade festivals at Hemsby, and Andy did his teaching session every morning, and I have to say I've not seen a reaction like that to a teaching session for a lot of years. He has that wonderful knack of putting things over in a very easy to understand way, and that's why Andy will always be welcome here on Keysound TV. As I say, he's got a couple of sessions for us in this episode. First one, he's gonna just talk about some ways of using some features on his Korg Pa5x, and in the second little session he's going to give you something to have a go at. And as I mentioned earlier, please have a go at these things. Don't assume that just by watching Andy's video that you can do it. Have a go. It'll be great fun. It'll be very, very rewarding, trust me. And it's the way we all get a little bit better, is by putting that little bit of practice in. So sit back, enjoy this first little session with our friend, Mr. Andy Carvill.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Keysound TV. It's been a very busy time at Keysounds. Keysounds, after 45 years, have been in Leicester on Narborough Road, but have now just moved to a brand new store in the market town of Hinckley, some 10 miles away from the original store, into a fantastic new location. One thing which is great for you as the customer is you've got a car park at the back of the store. You can park there free of charge for as long as you want to stay there, because you'll want to stay a long time, because the store is fabulous. Much bigger than the original shop, and has a vast range of all the main manufacturers of keyboards and pianos. In fact, it's got all the instruments in there. In my experience, it's probably one of the best specialist keyboard piano stores in the UK. If you haven't been, it's well worth a visit. It's in Regent Street in Hinckley. Go onto the website, get the exact address from there and the sat-nav locations via the postcode, and take a visit. It's very much worthwhile. So, on to today's video. My name is Andy Carvill. This is the Korg Pa5x, and I'd like to talk today about some very important features that make these instruments very easy to play. Now, at the end of the day, most home players want three things from their keyboard. One, great sounds. Well, frankly, it's a Korg, so they sound great. You want lots of features, and indeed, Korg again gives you lots of flexibility, lots of things you can do. But they also want ease of operation. And here's two features which make these instruments so easy to work. They come under the heading keyboard sets. One of them actually is called the keyboard set library, and the other ones are called just keyboard sets. The keyboard set library is located here on the panel. It's actually in this row of buttons here. They're marked piano and electric piano, organ, guitar, strings, etc. And this is the keyboard set library. Now, when somebody first sits down at a Korg instrument, you may think this is where you select the different orchestral sounds from. Well, in a way, yes, it is. The basic orchestral voice selection is actually done through the screen. But these are special voices. These are voices that have either been edited or special combinations of sound, all set up by Korg for you to access immediately. How does this work? Well, the keyboard set library isn't actually linked to a rhythm as such. The keyboard sets are. We'll move on to that in just a moment. So let me just press a button here. The first one, it just says piano and EP. And indeed, in my screen now, I've got various pages of sounds, all in that genre of sound, that type of sound. The very first one, very simple. It is just the concert grand. And this is the best concert grand sound that Korg could come up with. And it's beautiful. A very simple sound in a way, but a beautiful sound. So we can now access some combinations of sound. Let me go to page 3 here, and I've got piano and strings. So it's the same piano, but I've now got strings mixed in with it. Now, don't forget, to access this sound, I've just pressed one button on the screen here, called piano and strings. We've got more complex sounds though. Let me go to the string section. And on page 1 here, of these various combinations of sound we have orchestra tutti. Tutti is a musical phrase meaning full. So this is full orchestra. Select one control on the screen here and listen to this sound. Wow. So we've got literally hundreds of different combinations here. We've got brass sounds, trumpet sounds, saxophones. They're already there. Big band combinations, organ sounds, jazz organ, classical. They're all there in the keyboard set library. But I really want to show you another side of keyboard set, and this is just called keyboard set, not the keyboard set library. And this is 4 innocent looking buttons situated here just under the screen. Now, keyboard sets are actually linked to a style, an accompaniment style. So if I wanted to play, let's say, a waltz, let me go into the ballroom category. My first one here is English waltz. And I've now got 4 sounds instantly available. They could be solo sounds, they could be combinations. And if you want to know what sounds you've got, simply come out of there, press the exit button, back to the main page, and underneath the screen now I've got the 4 different sounds. I've got strings, piano, nylon guitar, and full strings and bells. And I can either press the buttons here to choose those different selections, or I can actually press them on the touch sensitive screen if that's what I want to do. So I'm going to play a simple tune, a little waltz called Moon River, and I'm going to start on the nylon guitar sound, and I'm going to have a simple little introduction like this, and here's if I now want a different sound, let's go for that full strings and bells. 1 button. And back to guitar. And back to strings. Now, the beauty of this is you don't just have one different waltz variation. You've got lots and lots of different variations. So if I go into the ballad section, I've now got a different waltz that I can choose. It's called 3/4 brush ballad. So let me press 3/4 brush ballad. I've now got 4 different sounds to play with. One of them is a harmonica, and I can now play a little slower version of Moon River, but actually just using this harmonica sound. Sure you get the idea. You don't only have to play Moon River, of course. We've got hundreds of different styles in the style section. Each of those styles have got 4 sound variations. So if I go into the jazz section, let me select here Dixieland. I've now got 4 different sounds: clarinet, trumpet, trombone, and a wow trumpet, which is this sound. So we can use that. Clarinet. Trumpet. So that's just a quick overview of the keyboard set library and the keyboard sets. Believe me, if you've never played a Korg keyboard before, using these features, you can get some great sounds in 1 minute. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll look forward to seeing you again in the future sometime. Bye-bye now.
Hi everybody, customer question time. I don't know why I said that, just thought of that, but every time we do a Keysound TV we seem to have had questions from customers, and that's great. I would always encourage people to ask us questions, but can I just say one thing to you before we launch into this little bit, and this is tinged with a bit of sadness really, is that 20 years ago, when people sort of either came into a store to see you or saw you at an exhibition, they say, "Hey, Paul, can you answer a couple of questions for me?" And invariably, it would be about playing and about music. Now, when you hear those words, Paul, can you answer a few questions? You know we're only going to talk about technology. And yes, I'm going to show you a few things. You know, the two things really go hand in hand. We all want the technology. What I don't want you to do is get bogged down with the technology at the expense of the hobby. The hobby's playing. You know, I say this 1,000 times to people. You must never lose sight of what we buy these instruments for. And if we don't understand everything that every button does, actually it doesn't matter. What matters is, can I spend an hour or so, go on this, and just put a smile on my face and really, really enjoy myself. So that's sermon over. Let's go back to customer question time. I had a gentleman in the store the other day who is the proud owner of a Yamaha PSR SX700. And he came in with a few questions for me, and I thought, you know, they're good topics to cover in the Keysound TV. Now, yes, I'm sat at the same instrument he has, the SX700. If you have a 900, if you have a Genos, in fact, if you have any of the Korg instruments or any top-end Arranger keyboard, the chances are that what I'm about to show you, you will be able to relate to your instrument and have a go at it. So here we are. I think there's four little things we're going to cover. The first one was about mixing sounds together. And I'm going to use, you know, the staple sound on any of these instruments, which is quite ironic, really. We've gone from organ to keyboard, but the sound that most people judge an instrument on is the piano. Don't know how that's happened, but there you go, it has. And basically, what I want to show you is we're just going to take now. I've just put the grand piano across the whole keyboard, so I've taken the accompaniment off, and we've got this beautiful grand piano sound like this. Now, what would happen if we mix the same sound with itself? Sounds a little bit confusing, but you'll see why I'm going to do this in a second. So I've got that in right 1. What I've done in right 2 is put exactly the same piano sound. Now at the moment, yeah, we might hear a slightly thicker sound, but we're not actually going to hear any different. So I can just hear there's a very subtle difference there, but no, there's not a lot of point in doing that. But let's have a look at what fun we can now have with the same sound mixed with itself. I'm going to go into menu, and there is a fantastic little feature in menu 1 called voice part setup. And if we press that, hopefully you can see from the screen that it now shows we have concert grand in right 1 and we have concert grand in right 2. They are, right 1 and right 2 are highlighted in white. The other sections at the moment are greyed out, which means they're ready. You know, we can switch them on if we want to and bring them on. But at the moment, we're just looking at the 2 grand pianos. Now, I can see the volume of each one, both set the same. I can see the pan, that's the spread of left and right. That's set to C, centre, on both of them. The bit I'm really interested in is the little box that says octave. And this is where we can get some great effects on the piano. So I'm going to go into Concert Grand 1. I'm going to highlight where it says octave. I'm going to turn the wheel until it says -1. So that is down an octave, and Concert Grand in right 2 is at standard octave. Now we've got the effect of actually playing in octaves, but we haven't got to do the hard work, but you get that really nice effect. Where it really becomes special, let's shift them two octaves apart, because unless any of you have got ridiculously big hands, the chance of anybody ever being able to span 2 octaves is a no-go, but you can get a great effect. So I'm now going to tap on where it says octave in right 2. I'm going to shift it up an octave. Now you can distinctly hear we've got that rich, deep piano, but we've also got that brightness of the one that's shifted up an octave as well. You can experiment with this to your heart's content. Let's take the other one down -2. And you can get some lovely, lovely effects. You can put one up 2 octaves, and it sort of creates almost like a ragtime piano. It's absolutely fantastic what you can do just by shifting octaves of voices when you've mixed them together. What I've done is put it back to -1 and 1. I'm going to come out of that screen, back to our main screen. I'm actually going to switch a left voice on now, just a sort of pad sound, and that's going to go behind our accompaniment. I'm going to switch the accompaniment on and just play you a little bit of something, just using this octave piano, but it's actually 2 octaves apart, and it makes this lovely, rich, how can we put it, late night, laid back piano sound, a little bit like this. So you've got that lovely, like I say, rich, warm, laid-back piano sound. So experiment by mixing even the same sound with itself. We could have chosen 2 different pianos, but just for simplicity, take 2 different pianos like that. So can we just do it on pianos? No, we can do it with any of the sounds. Here's one I've made earlier, I think is what they say on the telly. I've just got this pre-prepared just to save a bit of time. But I'll run through what I did. In right 1, I put concert strings. In right 2, I put movie strings. And in right 3, I've got ready theatre orchestra, which is sort of a mixture of strings and woodwind. So basically, we've got a big orchestral sound there. But let's go back into our menu and let's go to our voice part setup. And what I've actually done, concert strings, which is the first sound we're going to hear, I've put down 1 octave. Movie strings, which will be the second sound we introduce, I've left at its standard octave. And theatre orchestra, I've put up 1 octave. So now we've got this huge spread of string sound, but they're not all pitched at the same octave. And that's what's going to give us that real big sound at the end of the day. So let's go through them one by one. First of all is concert strings, which is the only one switched on. I can see that because it's the only one highlighted in white, and we've got this sort of sound. So that's quite a rich string sound, and you heard when I played right down here at the end, it's sort of reminiscent of like the contrabass or the cellos, the deepest string sounds in the orchestra. Now let's switch on right 2, movie strings. We'll play exactly the same little phrase, but this, remember, is set at standard octave, so you now should hear 2 distinctly separate string sounds. So not only are we building the sound up, we've now got some definition there because we've got the bass strings, we've got the slightly higher strings. Now they're set in the middle. That's probably reminiscent of the middle bit of the string orchestra, the violas. Now we've gone for theatre orchestra, which is a mixture of strings and woodwind, so that'll give us the high violins, and it'll also give us some woodwind sound as well. So let's add that on. Remember, this is up 1 octave. It now sounds like this. huge sound created just by shifting the octave. So don't overlook that. And if you've got the Yamaha, that is a great screen, this voice part setup, because it gives you all the information you need, including the volumes. So we haven't spent a lot of time on that. We'd probably blend the volumes. I might even look at panning the sound so that the cellos come out of a slightly different side to the violins, again, just to add that realism to it. So have a bit of fun, mess about mixing sounds and shifting octaves. So on to the next question that came from this customer, and this was really how we got the conversation started about mixing sounds together. He'd been listening to some of the demos of the voices and was a little bit puzzled as to why when he played it, it didn't sound the same as the demo. I will just show you, this is just out of interest, when, for instance, the inbuilt demo of one of the electric piano sounds, it was used as a piano, when I say as a piano, I mean the whole keyboard would have been played using that sound. So a little bit like this, so you get... As a result of playing the whole keyboard like that, you've got some nice, rich, deep bass notes here. Of course, if you play using the automatic styles and you're just playing here, you've got a beautiful electric piano sound, but it hasn't got those deep notes. So we said, well, you know, yes, you could mix the same sound with itself like we did on the piano and maybe take one of them down an octave, because that would give you that richness and depth to the sound. Don't always need to do that, so don't think, you know, it's a fault on the keyboard or anything. It's not. It depends on the sound you ultimately want. Now, the sound in question has become, over the years, a famous sound. It was introduced back in the 80s when Yamaha launched a synthesizer that revolutionized the synthesizer world, called a DX7. And in fact, a lot of people still use a DX7 today because there are certain sounds on it that have just never been recreated exactly the same as a DX7. When you look down your list of electric pianos, you will often see things referred to as DX. For copyright reasons, maybe some other manufacturers might call it something else, but you will always find there is the sound of the DX electric piano. And it is that sound that we've just used. It's really the sound of the 80s and the early 90s, because almost every pop ballad, think Whitney Houston, Mariah Carey, all those Disney ballads, The Lion King, all things like that, all feature that DX piano sound. But then along came a guy, an incredibly famous Canadian composer, arranger by the name of David Foster. If you don't know anything about David Foster, I would suggest you check out his music on YouTube. Phenomenal. And he was involved in a lot of the big bands like Earth, Wind and Fire, Chicago. He worked with Celine Dion. He discovered Andre Bocelli, people like Josh Groban. His back catalogue is absolutely endless, and he's probably one of the finest modern day pop producers. And he got hooked on this DX electric piano sound, but while everybody else was using it just on its own, like you've just heard it, he's usually found in the band playing the grand piano, and he thought, I wonder what would happen if I mixed an acoustic grand piano with this electronic electric piano sound. And what he came up with, again, is still widely used today, and we can recreate that sound very, very easily. So we will take our DX piano and I'm going to mix it back with the concert grand. And this is exactly the sort of David Foster sound that I'm talking about. It's a beautiful sound for any modern ballad that you play sounds like this. That should have the ladies reaching for the big shoulder pads like in Dynasty. It's of that era, but you know, it is still widely used today. It is a beautiful sound, and just adding that grand piano to the DX style piano just thickens the sound up and gives it a whole new dimension. So try that one, well worth trying. Now the other thing that we talked about, and this is the final one, gentleman asked me, how do I create an extra split on my keyboard? We're all familiar with one split, and 9 cases out of 10 that will be the split where we move from our right hand voice down into our accompaniment section. So we'll all have a split point so that when you switch the accompaniment on, we've got our accompaniment sound out here, but at a chosen point, let's just take the memory off there, but at a chosen point it will change to whatever our right hand voice is. I've gone back to the octave piano here, so left hand voice down here, let's find the note where it splits. There you go, I've got mine split on the A there, so that then everything to the right of that is my right hand or my melody sounds. Everything to the left is my accompaniment and a left voice. So we're all probably familiar with that as a split, even if we don't think of it as a split. But what this gentleman said was, well, yeah, I want to use my piano, say, to there. I've got some notes here that I never use. Spent a lot of money on those notes, I want to use them. So what you can do is create another split point so that you have what I would call a breakaway sound just here. So how do we do it? Well, what I've chosen here, you can probably see, I've got a left voice. I've gone back to this sort of pad sound here. And that's another thing. I keep thinking of things while I'm talking to you. A pad sound, what is it? Well, it's a fairly nondescript sound, but you often use a pad to actually pad another sound out. I don't think that's why it's called a pad sound, but that's in my sort of strange brain, that's how I think of it. It's often a soft, warm sound that's not trying to be any particular instrument, but they're great when mixed with acoustic, you know, imitations of instruments, just to add another dimension to it again. So I've got a pad sound in the left hand, I've got my octave piano set, and I've also got soprano sax in right 3. But let's have a listen. Why am I not hearing the soprano sax? Well, I'll tell you. Because the soprano sax I've made only work on the top octave. Now, how did I do that? We go into menu and we go to the one that says split and fingering. And what we can now do is highlight right 3 here, and if you look at that picture of that keyboard, it looks like it's broken in 2 places. Where the breaks are, that's my split point. So I can see where my split point is for the style and left voice. I can see the block that I've got for right 1 and right 2, and then I can see the section I've got for my soprano sax. Now, having highlighted right 3, if I turn the wheel, look what happens to my picture. It moves the break point or the split point. So, you know, we're now able to set a registration up where style and left voice, right 1 and right 2, and right 3. Effectively, I've got 3 keyboards now. So let's switch that off and let's give you an example of how you can use that. This little section here is just used for the odd note, but it saves you having to do quick registration changes, and it smooths the whole thing out. and just gives you more options when you're playing. So let's put just a basic little intro on and try this. So I can now just jump from octave to octave, and I've got a nice breakaway sound to use. Just one little tip: when you split high up the keyboard, you have to be careful with the octave of this voice, because if I didn't do anything with it, that soprano sax would probably up there only be audible to the local dogs in the neighbourhood. We wouldn't recognise it as a soprano sax even if we could actually hear the high pitch that it's doing. So this is where, again, I would go back into our little friend that we've discovered today, voice part setup. And if you see on soprano sax, I've taken it down one octave. So although I'm playing there, it's giving me the sound as though I was playing here, which would then be correct. Obviously, different voices will require different octave settings, and it depends the effect you're trying to achieve. So that is, in simple terms, how we add an additional split on any of the Yamaha SX or the Genos. I hope you've enjoyed those little tips. I've enjoyed passing the information on to you. Now we'll go back to Andy Carvill, who's going to give us a great little thing, which, again, more and more people are asking about these days. And how do I play with right-hand chords? So over to Andy, he's going to unlock the mystery to you.
Hello, and it's a great pleasure to be back here at Keysound TV once more. Today's video is a more musical video rather than looking at in depth into product features. This is how to create right-hand chords from a simple lead sheet. And now by a lead sheet, I mean a single note melody just with some chord symbols. So you've got single notes in your right hand and a chord symbol underneath. You probably watched lots of professional players, and you'll notice that they play lots of chords with their right hands and both hands and doing all sorts of different things. And yes, of course, those notes could have come from a very clever musical arrangement. But quite a lot of them use the system that we're going to have a look at now. And I'd just like to introduce a theory to you, which is something just to remember, and that is the use of what we call, or what I call, chord notes. So we're using chord notes, and that's very closely related to chord inversions. And I'll explain both of these theories in just a moment. Now, what I've set on my keyboard here is a very simple sort of organ sound, that sort of sound, and just a simple accompaniment down here, not using a style at all. And we're going to be playing a very simple piece of music, you'll know it, called Amazing Grace. And it's in the key of C, and it only uses 3 chords in the left hand, the chord of C, the chord of F, and the chord of G. That's the only 3 chords we're going to be using today. And just as if you don't know the piece of music, here we go. This is just the single note version, and I'm playing an octave higher, and you'll see why in a moment, because I don't want to get too muddy further down the keyboard. But I'm going to go up here, C chord, F chord, and back to C. Up to G. G chord, G note. It's an F chord. Back to C. G. C. So now what I want to do is I want to fatten out, fill out this right hand. So here's the very simple theory. Whatever notes you're playing with your left hand, you can take and you can copy them underneath the melody note in your right hand. There's a very, very important rule there. There are very few fixed, absolute must-be rules in music. Most things are guidelines. There's lots of guidelines, but one of the most important things is if you're creating your right hand chords, the melody has to be the top note, because actually that's what we hear. And if you don't make the melody the top note, the tune won't sound right at all. Okay, let me explain what I mean. So my first note, my first main note is this C here. Okay, now I'm using a C chord. C chord, as you probably know, is made up of the notes of C, E and G. So I can pinch any of those notes and go down from this C. So I'm going to pinch the G and I'm going to pinch the E, and there's my first right hand chord. Now the melody goes up to E and back to C. So all I'm going to do is swap my C chord around. Yeah? Now the chord changes. The melody note is back to C again, but this time I'm playing an F chord. My F chord, F, A and C are the notes in that chord. So I'm at C this time, so I can pinch the A and the F. So all I've done is I've gone, there's my C chord. Now changing to F with both hands in effect. But my melody note has to be on top. And I've now gone back to C. The melody note is G. That's in the chord anyway. I'm going to pinch the E and I'm going to pinch the C as well. So in effect, I'm playing the same chords with both hands because I'm pinching the notes from the left hand here. Now this is why this is closely related to chord inversions, because all I'm doing really is I'm playing a different inversion of the chord with the right hand. So it's a C chord. I've just got to have C on top because that's the melody. This is an F chord now with both hands. So I've got an inversion in this hand with the C note on top. Just an inversion of F down to C. Up to G chord this time. The melody note is the G, so I can pinch from this hand a D and a B. So I hope that's clear. I'm pinching the notes from my left hand chord and placing them underneath the melody note. It just happens to work out that I'm playing different chord inversions. But there's another more powerful angle to this. If I just played 3-note chords in this very block chord style, it doesn't necessarily sound very smooth. So I can use some different variations. I don't have to play all 3. I could just play 2 notes if I wanted to. Well, which one would you choose then? So if the melody note's C, my chord is C, would I just play the G or would I just play the E? The truth is, it doesn't matter. You can take your pick. I personally would play the E because I just like the spread of the notes better. But if you want to add just the G or just the E, that's up to you. It's fine. So that would be like this. my 3-note chord into a 2-note chord. Hope that makes sense. So now I've got 3 options available to my fingertips. I can play just single notes if I want to. I can play just 2 notes if I want to, or I can play 3 notes if I want to. In fact, I could even play 4 notes if I wanted to stretch the chords out and have big enough hands to reach more notes. But it means now that you can actually very simply arrange your version of a tune, in this case Amazing Grace, the way that you want to. So here we go, single note, 2 notes, still 2 notes, 3 notes, 3 notes still, back to 1 note, 2 notes, 3 notes, 3 notes, 2 notes, 1 note. So, important things to practice, very important. Don't just think of your left-hand chords as a certain shape. And I know we all get into that habit. I certainly did for many years in my early years of playing, that a C chord was just that. I didn't really know anything more, it's just that. I didn't really learn until much later that it was actually the notes of G, C and E, and that's not a root position of C. C at the bottom is the root position. But anyway, all of those sort of things. Don't just learn your chords as a shape, learn them as notes, because you can then pinch those notes and put them into the right hand. You can apply exactly the same techniques to every piece of music that you play. Look at your chord, take the notes from there and place them underneath your melody. Small word of warning finally. This will obviously change your fingering and your hand positions quite dramatically. So that's something you will have to practice with your right hand, just to get your hand into a different place so you're able to play these chords. I hope you find that useful. It's a very, very big topic. Sounds simple, and it is simple, but it's big because you need to learn all the notes of all the chords. I hope you find it useful. I hope you have some fun trying that out, and I look forward to seeing you again next time at Keysound TV.
Hi everybody. Well, I just had to share some brilliant news with you all. This, ladies and gentlemen, is the brand new Korg Pa5x. As of today, 30th of June, it has been launched in the UK. Not only has it been launched, but we've actually now, with immediate effect, got stock available at the Keysound store in Hinckley. You know, we are so excited about this product. I'm sure many of you realise that due to the perils of the pandemic, with supply chain problems and certainly this ongoing problem of semiconductor chips worldwide being in short supply, we feel so privileged to have this new product through. And what a product it is. We've had a very brief glimpse of this product, and believe me, this is one big step forward. It will come in 3 different models. Here you see the 61 note model. We also have a 76 note instrument. Both of those have a very high quality semi-weighted keyboard action. But for the first time on any Korg Arranger product for a long time, they're also doing an 88 note full weighted hammer action keyboard version. As you can see, they've remained, and I'm pleased to say they've remained with this brushed aluminium casework, complemented beautifully this time with these wooden side panels on here. It still uses the PA-AS speaker system, which sounds incredible. So what else have we got? We've got a much bigger ultra high definition display. This display screen really is superb to work with. We have a brand new sound engine in here with over 2,200 sounds initially to go at. We have over 600 styles. Many of them you may think you've heard before, but actually a lot of the older styles have been reworked, so some of the parts have been rewritten. There's also a multitude of new styles in here covering all sorts of genres. And we're popping a couple of videos up to let you hear A, the sound quality, and B, some of those stunning new styles on here. I'm not going to go through all the features other than to say, please pop along to the store or give us a ring at Keysound and find out more about this incredible product. And you know, buying a Korg product from Keysound, you're in very, very good hands, because our association with Korg products and Korg as a company goes back a long way, and we would like to think that our knowledge and after sales on this product is unrivaled in this industry here in the UK. We will be doing our unique songbook software for this. That's already well in progress. And to celebrate the launch of this keyboard on the weekend of the 15th, 16th, 17th of July, we've got some really special events going on. On Friday the 15th at 7:30, we will be holding the first official Korg launch to the public of this instrument. And to help us with that, we will have the services of Pete Shaw, Adam Whittle and Luke Edwards, and some of the other team from Korg who'll be joining us for the whole weekend to allow you to preview this product. On the Friday evening, we will have our launch show. That will be held in a separate venue. And then on the Saturday and Sunday, all of the events will take place in the store. Now, on the Friday evening, we have got limited spaces available for the launch concert. So we'd love you to join us. And if you would like to join us, pop yourselves onto the website, www.keysound.co.uk. And on the front page, on the home page, there is details of how to secure your place for that show. Then on the Saturday and Sunday in the store, we will be offering you the opportunity to book a VIP private one-to-one demo with ourselves and the team from Korg. It's your chance to have a look up close and personal this product and ask the questions you would like to ask, and we'll let you hear what you want to hear. Again, spaces will be limited, so once again, take yourself to the homepage of the website, fill the form in and send it to us, and we will make sure you get your VIP demonstration. Throughout the day on the Saturday and Sunday, there'll also be lots of ongoing demonstrations and a lot of events. So please join us. If you want to make a weekend of it, make a weekend of it. We would love to see you. So let me say it once again, because I can't believe it myself. Here we have the long-awaited Korg Pa5x in stock now, in the store for you to come and have a demonstration, to have a look, even try it for yourself. That's at Keysound, 35 to 37 Regent Street, Hinckley. I've been dying to share this news with you. I hope it's good news for you too. Please get down and see this product.